the tactical or molecular level even, I guess one might say, but at the big picture level is a very important additional feature of the conversation that we wanted to have with you all today. So we've asked President Kennedy, I call him, address the question of if the CCP's smuggling of deadly pathogens into America is not an act of war, what would be?
This is a very interesting conversation we're having, and it follows on a conversation we've had earlier in the week where we were internally on the committee debating whether this was an act of war by the CCP. And in my judgment, it certainly is. Sean did a brilliant job sort of laying out the technical aspects of what transpired here. But let me make a few points and then really summarize, what the FBI found in that with these two researchers. First of all, human beings, we do a lot of things. We study things. We are going to university. We run businesses. We raise families. We, go to church. We have this multitude of things we're engaged in, and we tend not to focus on things that are, warlike. It's up to the government to figure out what is warlike. And in our republic, to when something is an act of war against us, to act appropriately. We hear about these Chinese researchers here, and we think they bring in this pathogen. And we think, well, it's just that can't be that serious, right? The FBI arrested them, but if it was really serious, someone in Washington would treat this like an act of war. And what you realize is we don't do that. We don't have people in Washington, with the exception of now of President Trump, and I would really say only a handful of people around him and outside the government who see the seriousness of all this. So we're engaged in these high-level negotiations with the PRC over trade and commerce. During those negotiations, which have been ongoing the last several months, the Chinese Communist Party, as a matter of high government policy, allows the PLA to send over two researchers with an agroterrorism weapon to get these into the country at a time where we, the United States, are saying we're going to be diligent about how we treat our border. Indeed, we're shutting down our border. We're not letting new illegal immigrants in. We're going to take our border seriously because this is our country. During that window of us shutting down the border and sensitive negotiations, the Chinese Communist Party, and I don't believe, a lot of people say Xi Jinping is on the outs and he's doesn't control the military or he doesn't control the intelligence community and he's sick and all these things. These are people who are masters of deception. Believe none of that. You cannot know whether any of that is true. And even if it were true, it doesn't matter because it's communist China and its military and its intelligence operations operating against the United States. During these sensitive negotiations, they send these two researchers, quote unquote, into the United States with these pathogens. They're doing what by doing so? They're testing the system. Are we really controlling our borders? Are we really going to take seriously foreign researchers coming into the country and what they might have with them? And so as a matter of high government policy, as Sean was alluding to, the CCP was testing the system, engaged in an act of war against us to see whether or not we would catch them or not. Now, let me read just to get a full picture of it, what the FBI said in the indictment. This is the press release that the FBI put out. It said they arrested Jian in connection with allegations related to Jian and Liu's smuggling into America a fungus called Fusarium graminearum, which scientific literature classifies as potential agroterrorism weapon. This noxious fungus causes, quote, head blight, a disease of wheat, barley, maize, and rice, and is responsible for billions of dollars in economic losses worldwide each year. Fusarium graminearum toxins cause vomiting, liver damage, and reproductive defects in humans and livestock. Reproductive defects in humans and livestock. Okay, they bring that into the United States. They get arrested. That's great. Good on the Border Patrol and good on the FBI for doing that. But when you take a step back, where are the hearings in Washington that are examining this as an act of war? Where is the State Department saying something? Where is the Defense Department? There are 100,000, as we know, Chinese nationals who came over the border in the last 4 years during the Biden administration, look to be military-age males, as we've said on these webinars, who came here, it would appear, to engage in military activity. Did they have this kind of a fungus? What did they bring with them? If these scientists are willing to bring these to the United States as a test, what might, during the 4 years where no one was really watching, what could those people have brought with them? What are their plans? And I simply, you know, in a way to conclude some of this, we're in a period now in this country where you're going to have war in the streets. You see it in Los Angeles. You're going to see it this weekend in America's big cities. We're going to be examining who should be a citizen or who is a citizen and what to do about those people here who are not citizens. There's going to be a lot of internal strife during the next 3 years, 3.5 years left of the Trump administration as we try to get these people out of the country. Will Communist China see this as an opportunity to exploit our internal strife, which they promoted and they added to, in order to engage in a more kinetic form of war against us by using an agroterrorism weapon like this to harm the United States, to weaken the United States, and to, in effect, put us on our heels at a time where we have an America First president who means to rebuild the country and to take seriously again our national defense. I personally believe, not speaking for the committee whatsoever, that they have committed an act of war against the United States. I'm going to encourage myself, members of Congress and of the Senate, to treat this as such, to take seriously the idea that when the Chinese send this kind of a weapon, they're going from just a people's war where with COVID-19, they tried to manipulate the United States, but something that might not kill all of us, to an actual war that means to debilitate us. Because when you start destroying the crops of the United States and the livestock of the United States and the reproductive capacity of Americans, you're trying to not merely kill individual Americans, but you're trying to destroy American civilization. You mean at that point to starve us, and you mean at that point to conquer us. And either we treat this as an act of war, or we suffer the consequences. Thank you, Frank. Thank you for organizing this, and I look forward to our conversation afterwards.
Thank you for pulling together a lot of strands here that need to be tied up for the public, our audience today, the many thousands that we hope will be watching this program in the days to come, and not least that larger audience that you've just spoken of, the United States Congress. In whom the founders vested the authority to declare war in defense of our nation. Your admonition that an act of war has been perpetrated, a declaration of war has been formally announced on the pages of the People's Daily back in, as I mentioned earlier, May of 2019. And this undeclared war that we focus on in these programs has been going on for decades. It does seem to all of us, I think, at the committee, high time that the